welcome back to another community watch party for the Pantheon Rise of the Fallen video newsletter. This one's going to be interesting. So, I'm sure most of you by now have heard the sad news that Brad McQuaid passed away almost exactly a week ago today, I think. And so this is going to be an interesting newsletter. This is the first newsletter after that had happened, and of course it's still fresh in a lot of people's minds, and a lot of people are understandably still upset, and we're going to be feeling the effects of this for a while. But I mean, as you know, Brad would want the development to continue and plow forward, because that's what he always did. And the developers have already, publicly expressed their commitment to that, which is good, and that makes us feel all a little bit better. So my personal expectation, this newsletter, I'm just curious to see how they're gonna handle it. I mean, by now we have had some time to mourn and to remember him, and because on last Friday, I had a memorial stream here for him right on this channel, and that was a good time to kind of like pause and reflect, and that was really nice. But like I said, I mean, even as sad as it is, the show must go on, because like I said, that's what he would want, and that's in a way the best way to honor his legacy is to push forward. So with this being the first newsletter since that happened, I'm interested to see how they have to address the elephant in the room, no doubt, but at the same time, then kind of like, I think we'll see them start to transition right before our eyes tonight, transition into like acknowledging, yes, this happened, this is where we're at, but we're continually making progress, and then hopefully sample some of that progress here tonight. So I know that in the official announcement that they made, they said that they're going to be covering character resources tonight. That's like the main topic. Joppa is going to be on, and the lead programmer Kyle Olson is going to be on, in addition to Ronick and Bendine as well. So it'll be interesting to hear from Kyle Olson, since he took over as lead programmer. I don't think we've really heard from him. Like publicly, maybe in one newsletter like a while ago. But anyway, as far as I'm concerned, if Joppa's going to be there, I have high hopes that there's going to be some good information. So the character resources, that of course meaning like the resources that are unique to each class, that each class has, that they need to perform their abilities. So like the warrior has battle points, and the ranger has momentum and stuff like that. So we're going to be hearing more about that tonight, which is exciting. That should be kicking off in just 1 minute. I'm proud that I always seem to time my monologues just right. But in the time, I'm just waiting for their channel to go live. Hopefully they're on time. Also, hopefully that they've got their audio situation figured out, so that I'm not constantly having to adjust here. Should probably move my chair up too. There we go. All right, now we're ready. See who we got. Who we got here in chat? I see Cheyenne from Old School Crafters. I see Theric. Goofy Warrior guy. I love seeing familiar names. Thorndeep. Hey guys, Kelem, as always. Thank you, man, for being here. Got Chaser. Oh, and it just went live. Look at that. It's a beautiful thing. Let's see. Oh. Okay, it's a blank screen. We got some music though. Hey guys, yeah, I'm so glad you like just coming hanging out with me, just on like a more chill, close-knit setting. I promise I won't talk over anything important, but it's fun to like experience it with you.
Hello, everyone,
Joppa's
and
on camera this time.
Welcome to the dev stream for November 26, 2019 for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. I'm Ben McHale-Dean, producer, and with me is Dave Ronick-Schlau, our senior content creator. And
this looks good. Is audio good? I think audio's good.
Chris Joppa Perkins.
Hey, everybody.
What's going on, everybody?
So we have quite a bit of a show for you guys tonight. What do we have on the docket for tonight, guys?
Ben Dean's mic is not synced, but the other two sound good.
So we're going to take a deep dive into that and talk about that a little bit.
Crap, yeah, it is. I am hiding Ben now.
We're going to talk all about the class resources. I'm really excited about that. I know you guys are. It's going to be a good one.
Sounds like we have a good stream ahead of us. So
I will sacrifice my image
Before we get into
for the
that,
sake
though,
of Ben.
We'd like to take a moment to talk about the tragedy that happened last week. On Tuesday, we were notified that Chief Creative Officer Brad Eridoun McQuaid had passed away. It was a great shock to us all, and shortly after the announcement, there was an outpouring of support, condolences, and sorrow. Brad's name was synonymous with creating worlds full of exploration and wondrous discovery that hundreds of thousands of gamers would live in, often for years. Worlds that were the setting for countless friendships, cherished memories, and exciting adventures. His worlds became our worlds. The video game world suffered a great loss last week, but Eridoun's dream lives on. We can see that in the thousands of people in this very community, and we here at Visionary Realms are committed to seeing that dream through with Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Brad had a clear vision and very clear tenets. It was that vision and those goals that brought this community together, but it was also those visions and goals that brought this team together. And it's those same principles that drive Pantheon forward. We at Visionary Realms are resolute in bringing Terminus to life. Pantheon forges on.
Thanks, Ben. And a huge thank you goes out to the community too. Bazgrim hosted a community memorial Friday night with Yarnella, Minus, and Nathan Napalm. And then on Saturday, the Voices of Terminus crew got together and they held a stream in Brad's memory. So we just wanted to say thank you to everyone who showed their support in the streams and in the chat channels. It means the world to us.
Yeah, we really can't thank you guys enough. We have an absolutely amazing community. It was truly encouraging and uplifting to all of us to see the massive amount of just global inpouring of encouragement and really that kind of spurring things on, not to give up and to keep pushing forward. And that means a lot to us. Want you to know that. And please know that we are more galvanized than ever to make sure that Pantheon is finished and that it's the best game that it can be. And Brad's memory will live on in Pantheon. You can expect to see Eridoun in game. We can't give details yet on exactly how that's going to look, but know that it will happen, and know that we're taking all the amazing community ideas and feedback into consideration on how best to do that. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys. On November 7th, a few weeks ago, we had a stream with Co-Carnage. That's where we showed Fairthale for the first time. It was also where we showed the new Pantheon logo. Since we posted that, a lot of questions have been coming in about the new logo. Where did it come from? What does it all mean? So we'd like to take a few minutes to take a look at that today.
So when we started the concepts for this logo to the Pantheon logo that we had to date, we wanted to feel familiar but more modern. In design, we kind of call this a refresh rather than like a rebrand. So the first thing we did was we tried to find a font that was reminiscent of the old logo. And what we ended up doing was we took the original font and manipulated it. We added embellishments and like a type treatment to the lettering. It needed to look weathered, but not falling apart. So we worked on
look at that
aging and
detail.
texturing a patina.
And what we also needed to do too was with the Rise of the Fallen portion of the logo, it wasn't, in certain situations, it wasn't reading very well. The font was a little bit squished and a little bit small. So we took it, we made it, we put it in all capitals, all uppercase. We put a background behind it so that it would stand out a little bit more. And this is usable against any background. So we find that it scales pretty well in that way too.
Yeah, that's the best part of it, in my opinion.
One of Jared's ideas in the early
It looks very crisp and very fantasy looking.
In an early rendition, he did that, you know, had swirls and wisps landing on the planet.
Right, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And so we took that concept and then we came up with this.
This was cool. This was a very early rendition. One of the artists came up with this. We really liked the idea. In fact, we loved the idea, but it wasn't exactly reminiscent of where we were going with the Pantheon brand. So we played around with it a little bit more. And we came up with this. You guys will recognize this one. We posted that on all of the Twitters and all of the Facebooks.
You know, he said weathered but not falling apart.
Getting really
but
cool.
This is falling apart.
The O became shattered, so that kind of represents the fragile nature of Terminus. And then we added the actual planet of Terminus behind the O as well. So if you look closely,
I told you.
You'll count 9 stars.
1
star for each race. And that's the story of how Pantheon
Who called
found
it?
a new logo.
Just gotta say, I called it.
And some of you guys guessed that stuff too.
Yeah, damn right I did.
On with the 9 stars and all.
Like spot on. I was watching the streams and I was like, I count 9 stars. I think Bazgrim did. I count 9
yes,
stars.
I did.
One for each race. I'm like, it is. So that's cool.
I love how nothing slips past you guys. It's crazy. And to speak of what Ben said earlier too, I mean, this is really a chance to start bringing the story.
Oh, just for that, Ben, I'm covering up your face.
To life. We're building the game that way. You guys know us well, that everything we do starts from the ground up with the lore and the story and the context. And we want to bring that to everything and have that reflected in everything, even the logo. And I think we've accomplished that absolutely.
And
I think so too. Yeah.
I think that's kind of what sets us apart from other games.
That's
too.
2 shout outs this stream.
Starts and stems with the lore, and I think we just build from there. Whereas it's like superficial for other people.
Yeah, I did not.
It's just kind of thrown in there.
I didn't realize how much I disliked the previous logo until I saw this
chat
one.
Channel Xmogo says nothing passes us might as well tell us everything. Well, okay then, here's it all. No, I'm just kidding. We got to say some stuff, guys. Got to say some stuff. What do we have next? You know what? I think we're going to talk a little bit about the core systems. One of the main core systems is, of course, the combat system. And at the core of the combat system is a combat resource system. So why don't we turn it over to you, Chris, and you can tell us about the combat resources.
Yeah, my pleasure. So most of you remember back in the summer of 2018, we did a series of class reveals. And in those, we detailed the flavor and a large portion of each class's overall ability kit. And this is a huge step forward for us. And I think the community remembers it that way as well. At the heart of every MMO are the classes that we play. And it's probably the most significant vehicle through which we see and experience the world. Even the social interactions that we have in game are largely based on the races and the classes we choose to play. And of course, the actual person behind the tune as well. But we're just excited to start revisiting our classes a bit with all of you and taking a step further in detailing how these classes are actually going to look and feel, and we'll be doing that with the class resources. We are all familiar with health and mana and endurance, these things being somewhat staples in MMOs and many single player titles alike. But in Pantheon, many of our classes are going to utilize non-traditional resources to do what they do in combat and in interacting with the world at large. So I'm excited to take a look at that. Ben, why don't we go ahead and cut to the cleric and start looking at a few of these.
Here we go.
The first thing I would say, yeah, go ahead.
Yep, it's up.
There we go. The first thing I'd say is you'll notice right
that
off the
looks
bat.
cool already. Hold
One
on.
of the
I'm gonna
last
have to
streams
keep.
we did.
I'm gonna have to
we
like keep
showed,
moving my.
the
Oh yeah, look
updated
at that.
dialogue and
Maybe I'll
perception
live down here
dialogue
for now.
window, and so you're seeing that updated UI art carry over into the nameplates now, in addition to the actual specific class resources. So we're looking at the cleric here. We're not going to do a deep dive explanation of each of these as we go through. We just want you to see them. And then we'll be doing a deep dive today on the warrior at the end. But here you see at the bottom the celestial power resource filling up from left to right, and then the celestial bond on the side panel indicating when you've achieved your celestial bond, and then also indicating when that celestial bond has come to an end. Let's go ahead and move to the Dire Lord.
Dire Lord it is.
Yep. Dire Lord, don't have a side panel. We simply have the essence bar. So this is how the essence will be depicted.
It's
as you
amazing
accumulate
how
and
just
spend
like
that
little
resource.
details like this can make a
take a look at
huge
Paladin.
difference. Like this looks
Okay.
so good.
Awesome. So Paladin, similar to the Dire Lord, at the bottom bar you see the Wrath filling up, but then on the side panel, that's where the Reckoning points are accumulated and visualized. So we'll have 3 of those for the Paladin in addition to the Wrath.
Now this
And now
art,
let's
this
take a look at
was
the Rogue.
sorry, Chris. This art, this was
Sorry, go
this was Jared's art.
This is Jared's art. Absolutely. Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, Jared and I spend a lot of late nights kind of trudging through the trenches on these. And that's the thing about UI too, though, is that there's a lot of iteration. And it's one of those things where the community really does play a huge role here in not only the readability of the UI. Can I tell at a glance what's going on? Do I feel like I'm able to stay focused on combat and know where my resources are at and what they're doing at all times? But then also making sure that the aesthetic is really capturing the flavor of these classes as well. So yeah, Jared just did an absolutely phenomenal job on these for sure.
No surprise gas bats this time around.
Thank God.
Let's take a look
Yeah,
at the
not
rogue.
that I'm aware of anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so the rogue is up.
is a fun one to look at because I think on the class page there's no mention of the actual resource you're seeing here, but this is called Opportunity, and it's a resource that you generate specifically while you're in stealth. And I'm excited to share more about that.
Why
in the
does
future.
that sound familiar? I
Let's
feel
take
like
a look
we
at
heard that
Shaman now.
before.
Shaman is up.
So Shaman, we know, is based on the Vision resource.
Ooh.
That's accumulated by this slowly opening eye.
I like that.
That eye being themed around a hawk's eye, because the hawk is kind of what is standing for that ancestral line of shaman abilities. The hawk is very iconic for the shaman, and so as you accumulate vision, you'll be able to see that not only through the circuitry kind of lighting up there and the aura when it's full, but also the eye itself.
So it looks like along
That's
the
my
bottom.
It's
Yeah,
That's my favorite too.
just-
I don't think I think that stuff along the bottom is just
cool.
decorative though.
I like
I don't
the
think that
tribal
does
theme to it,
anything.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wizard.
Yeah, very cool. So Wizard, we have the schools of focus based on their schools of magic. So you see here Fire, Cold, Arcane, and then a 4th school, which as of right now will go unnamed. But it is going to be a very important part of the Wizard class. But again, you'll see there that as you gain stacks of a particular school of focus that will fill up, and then that aura will highlight around the individual one once you're full.
I
And
hope
Warrior?
that there's at least tooltips or something. 'Cause my only concern is that
Excellent.
it gets
So now we'll look at the
too
warrior, and we're gonna
complicated
camp on
for
this one
new
for
players.
just a little bit here. The way that we want to go about these class resource
When each class has its own like specific mechanic, like it's
reveals
really
or
cool, but
exposés, if you will,
hopefully
is,
it's thoroughly explained.
we want to show them to you. We want to talk about them a little bit, describe what they do, and then we're going to be hopefully given some hands-on, visuals and the not so distant future of these in action, in game, in that context. So the one we're going to do that with first here is the warrior, and so we really have two resources in play here. We have the battle points represented by the row of shields at the bottom of the nameplate window, and while the warrior's basic combat abilities are going to rely largely on endurance, these battle points are going to govern more of your more powerful, more dramatic combat abilities. And so you're going to be relying on building these battle points and then spending them strategically based on when the situation calls for it to use some of those more pronounced dramatic abilities. So endurance and battle points playing kind of a role there together. But on the right side panel, you're seeing what is what's known as resilience. And this is a very interesting combat resource for the warrior because it's not based on traditional building or spending. It's not something that you spend directly. This is something that is kind of a unique resource. And so I'll explain a little bit about how this works. Your resilience is calculated based off of 20% of your maximum armor class. If you remember back from the class reveals, one of the warrior passives actually gave them an innate 20% bonus to their armor class. But to make this a little bit more interesting, we decided to take that away from just being a passive bonus and actually turn it into a resource that you manage. And so the 20% bonus armor class is actually coming through your management of resilience. So 20% of your overall maximum armor class is what is going to determine your total resilience pool. That includes buffs. And the reason we're doing it that way is because we wanted an extra layer of a carrot, if you will, for the warriors. It feels great to increase your attributes, to get a higher and higher strength, higher and higher stamina, higher and higher AC. And there's a lot of passive benefits that higher armor class gives you. But now for warriors, you have even that extra layer of the higher armor class you have, the more resilience pool you're going to have, the higher your resilience pool is going to be. And that's going to feel meaningful to you. You're going to be able to feel having a chunkier pool of resilience that way. Resilience is going to always level itself out at 50%, when you're out of combat. And so 5 seconds once you're out of combat, if you have more than 50% resilience, it's going to slowly fall at a rate of about 1% per second until it reaches that 50% line. The same thing if you end combat below 50% resilience, it's going to slowly accumulate back up to that point of unity, that 50% mark. And we did that just to kind of help warriors stay at the ready as much as possible. And then, be able to kind of move from fight to fight without too much downtime or too much time spent worrying about where their resilience is at. When you are in combat and take damage, that damage is going to go through your resilience layer before it touches any other layer of mitigation. Before any form of passive mitigation is calculated, it's going to go through and get kind of chomped off by that resilience layer before anything else. And so having your resilience as high as possible, especially when you're going to be taking some pretty meaty hits, is going to be a part of kind of the ebb and flow of the warrior gameplay. Timing that resilience, spiking, working to get your resilience up as high as you can to receive those hits is going to be some of what separates higher skilled warriors from from maybe the lower skilled or more of the new warriors who are learning the ropes. When you take damage, that's going to be calculated based on how much resilience you have currently, and it's going to lop off a certain amount of damage, up to 20%, through that resilience pool, and then it's going to fall in the rest of your mitigation. So the higher resilience you have, just as a total pool, and then the higher resilience you have in that moment, in terms of, are you at 20% resilience or 100% of your resilience? You're going to see some pretty significant differences in the amount of damage you take. The last thing I'll say is the way that you generate or recuperate resilience happens through two ways. One is through healing. So if you are under 50% resilience in combat, 20% of the effective healing you receive from any source is going to be a 1-to-1 replenishment to your resilience. So healing will be one way that your resilience is increased. But the thing I'm most excited about is the active form of resilience generation, and that's through shield blocking. For me personally, when I've played warrior classes or tank classes in MMOs, I've liked the idea of shield block. Sometimes it's been a little more active. Sometimes it's been a little more passive, kind of fire and forget. But it's never quite been active enough for my taste. And I think something that we really want to see the warrior in Pantheon be is a more of an active class when it comes to managing their mitigation, timing their cooldowns, timing their resource generation. And so shield blocking, you're going to see shield block on a much shorter cooldown. And obviously the effects of shield block will be built in a way with that in mind. But shield block is meant to be something that you are looking for those massive hits. You're trying to time those massive hits, and you're going to have shield block off cooldown and available to you often enough to be able to use it consistently and try and plan and time and strategize your use of it to really ramp those resilience gains up, get those huge chunks of resilience healing, I guess you could say, in place so that you can keep your resilience topped up high. So I'm really excited to see this play out. Like I said, we're going to be showing this in action soon, and if all goes according to plan, then we're going to see a very active play style for the warrior, using that shield, being very tactical in how they are using their abilities and their resilience, make themselves as meaty and as resilient as possible.
That's so good, because usually warriors are just so boring.
Really,
but that actually sounds fun. And I'm convinced if Ben Dean wasn't here, Joppa would just talk all night long about Pantheon, and I would be so okay with that.
We see it in gameplay. As Chris said, we will be showing it soon. In fact, I just spoke to Carnage, and we will be doing a live stream on his channel on December 12th, Thursday, December 12th,
December
at
12th,
Pacific, where we're actually going to show the warrior resources in action.
Noon Pacific,
so,
you get
we'll
that?
Definitely see that.
Mark your calendars.
So with that, we can probably open up the floor to some questions.
Wow, already?
Okay, guys, if you want to tag me in the chat, I will.
That was a deep look at the
let's
warrior.
Start with this one from Neffel VG. He wants to know, he's curious about the plans for group members being able to see the class resources. We're used to being able to see other people's mana, but that only applies to a couple classes in the current design.
I guess that's all they had. Did they cover all the classes already? I don't think that wasn't all the classes.
We've gone back and forth on that internally a little bit. We're actually in the midst right now of redesigning not only the UI elements we've shown and kind of the class UI nameplate element that we've been showing tonight, but also the raid frames, the group frames, and we've been discussing that. How much information? Is this just a health mana endurance thing, or is it going to behoove players to be able to see some of these secondary and tertiary resources as well? And really, the argument comes down to noise, visual noise. Is it going to be overwhelming to see that much information? What we'll probably end up doing is supporting all of it being able to be shown and working out a visual design for that, and then giving you guys, the players, the control over what
I guess that's
is
probably
shown. on the
Spotlight.
UI
That's
options
usually the
level. I
best
think
way
that'll
to
probably
go
be
when it comes
the
to
best
UI.
way to make everybody happy.
Cool.
That was one thing Brad always talked about. Like,
187
as
asks,
when it comes
can
to
you discuss the
UI,
combat
it's
states
almost
in a
always
bit more
best to just put it in
detail?
player
Being
control,
in
because if
combat,
it doesn't
out of
affect other
combat,
people.
how it affects preparation, gameplay, etc.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
personally like a
question.
really slim
I'm
UI
not
though.
quite ready to
That's
go
just
into
me.
too much detail on that yet, but know that that's something that we'll be going into detail specifically in this upcoming stream with Co on the 12th. So I'm just going to defer that question to then. Guys, remind me so that we can hit that one again when the time comes.
Okay. Crack to Cone asks, sorry, my pronunciations are probably terrible. Will there be enemy abilities that will reduce the generation or remove those resources?
Yes, absolutely. Not only are there some class abilities that actually boost the generation of these special class resources, but there's also going to be the same, on the NPC side when it comes to detrimental abilities. So absolutely, these class resources, they're special, they're unique, but they're going to be definitely fodder for encounter design, ability design for NPCs as well.
Okay. Let's go with when Fragile Hacks asks, when is the racial actives stream?
That's a good question.
Actives.
Question.
That is a good question. What's the answer? It will be coming. I can't tell you when. Right now we're going to be showing the passives first. We still have a few more to do in the passives, right? If I remember correctly. No, we covered them all. No, I was thinking of the burning questions. Yeah. It will be coming soon. It's one of the next things up in the queue.
Okay.
By the way, I owe Fragile an apology and a shout out for not even mispronouncing his name, just calling him Frigid instead of
I remember. I'm so happy that you got that too.
Sorry about that, Fragile.
I noticed that at the stream. I didn't say anything at the time, but yeah, that's.
I hope he's not
Good
fragile.
on you, man.
Okay. Anyway, Sentient Polygon asks, can/will buffs affect these innates?
Will they affect the innate racial passives? Buffs? Is that what the question's asking?
I'm thinking that's probably what he's asking.
No. Racial passives won't be affected in any way by buffs or debuffs or anything like that.
All right, I'm throwing you guys the hard questions. All right, Skeptic asks, pledging is cool, but how can I invest / get shares?
So most of the funding for Pantheon has been done through crowdfunding, as you guys know. We talk about that all the time. We've gotten some angel investors as well. We also have an investor that recently started up a syndicate. What that means, it's he takes smaller investments to put as a syndicate into Pantheon itself. On the syndicate stuff, that's not run by us, but we can certainly get you in touch with the proper parties there. You can just email contact@visionaryrealms.com. For larger investments too, all of that stuff is available on the contact investment page on visionaryrealms.com. And of course the pledges, like I said, pantheonmmo.com.
Okay.
I like that people are even asking that though.
The Doctor 618 asks, is each class going to have unique resources?
No, not each class. As of right now, the Druid, the Enchanter, and the Summoner do not have any of these additional unique resources.
Oh,
they are
really?
Only, and that's by choice. It was never meant to make certain classes feel more special than others. It's really more in how we're designing the class play. And so for those three classes, two of them, well, the Summoner obviously being a pet class, the Druid being kind of a light, I hesitate to even call it a pet class because it's not in so many of the traditional senses of that. But Rohret does present kind of an extra layer of complexity in terms of just maximizing your class play and your effectiveness. and then the Enchanter as well. We all know as of right now, anyway, the sole kind of CC class as of right now. The decision for those 3 classes, because of their gameplay, because of the complexities in what they're having to control personally for themselves, we just opted, and not even that, really, just because there was no, it would feel kind of plasticky, almost like we're just trying to keep it consistent. And so let's just throw some unique class resources on everything. And I just don't think they need that. I think they play coherently enough and just like they need to without those. So yeah.
I just realized, where's Kyle Olsen?
Greek
They said he was
Verb
going to be in this
asks,
stream.
How much role overlap will there be across
I guess it's not over
classes?
yet.
Multiple
Maybe he'll
raising
make a
classes,
surprise
multiple
appearance
classes that
later.
can provide a certain buff, etc. He prefers other game approach of having strong class identities.
Before I answer that, just also to say too that the monk and the ranger class resource is finished. The monk finished as of yesterday, ranger a few days before that, but just didn't quite make it in time for the stream. But those are done and super cool. So can't wait for you guys to see those
the monk
as well.
is pretty cool.
Class, I'm gonna stop myself. Identity is I love monks. So
Kalux is a flying on a gas
I
vat.
stop myself.
If that happens,
yeah.
I'm just shutting the
Class
stream
identity
down.
is-
No more stream.
It's king. It's king in so many ways. And so when we talk about role kind of spillage, just know where you see that happening. It's purely right now meant to try and minimize these kind of stigmatizing gaps, if you will. And so Resurrect is a really good example, because to give one class Resurrect or one class a superior Resurrect than the other 2 priest types, on one hand you're saying, look, they all have Resurrects, but one of them has the best. And so you're always going to be looking to get the res from the best, whether it's because of experience gain that you gain back from the res, or it has less negative effects. So I know that there's some disparity right now between the different the shaman, the cleric, and the druids, the way they resurrect, and those abilities in particular are still works in progress right now. But we're trying as much as we can to minimize the crossover in roles. There's going to be some, but in each case, there's going to be a class that has it as its forte, and classes that maybe have lighter versions of that. The exceptions, again, being things like Resurrect, that there's really just no advantage to anybody. There's only disadvantages for things like that when we make discrepancies or make it the forte of the cleric as opposed to the other ones. So the only thing to say, and I think gameplay streams and upcoming being able to see the game in action will prove how carefully we're towing that line.
This all just makes me want to play so bad.
Ben cut me off when
Like,
you want to.
and all the past streams, everybody's like,
when I
"Oh,
want to,
gameplay is
Nikki's
boring.
like, I
It's too
want to cut off this
slow."
stream.
But now
You
it's
like how I
like,
did
this
that?
is
I kinda
exactly
did
what
that. Right
pretty-
over
they
this
need
one.
to
Pretty
make
passive
combat
aggressive,
more
right?
interesting and
If we
engaging.
don't, Chris will be talking here all night.
Like, I want to see it in action.
Yeah.
December 12th.
US82 asks, going back to the warrior management of big hits, are enemies or bosses going to telegraph certain big hits so you know when to use your skills?
That's a good question.
This is something that I've been really excited for us to talk about more, and we're just not at the point gameplay wise to it's something that really needs to be substantiated by showing it in action. But something we refer to internally as devastating abilities, where you're getting a through animation, through sound effects, through trying to intentionally avoid things like ground reticles and that kind of telegraphing, but through big wind-ups, with the giant, like, just rearing back and doing this really unique big wind-up swing animation. That if you get hit by that as a devastating ability, you're gonna either be one shot or it's gonna be almost impossible to recover from. And those kind of abilities aren't going to only have like single points of contact either. They're going to have kind of be what you would expect with like an impact, in that they're going to do the most damage right in the center, and then there's going to be kind of a radius of effect that kind of shockwaves out from that. And so when you see things like shield block, when you see things like the summoner's class passive of mana shield, and some of these other even ones that we haven't even revealed yet that have a little bit more active kind of response in mind, and I'm not talking anything like lightning fast, first person shooter, but you have a 2 or 3 second window maybe to kind of see something and discern what's happening and respond. That's what those abilities are really built with those things in mind. And then ways that you're going to even be able to improve certain abilities like your shield block and whatever to be able to take on, devastating abilities of a greater and greater nature, because, the devastating ability from a mini boss is going to be different than, max tier, max level raid boss devastating ability kind of thing. So yes, answer is yes.
Lots of beans. I hope you guys are taking notes.
I know, seriously. I was like, I have to make a video about that. I'm gonna have to make a video about
haircut?
that. I'm like, I'm gonna be busy for the next few days.
What a
Okay.
great question.
Chaser,
Yes.
Joppa is a
I
genius.
can
He
see
is
it. I can
he
see
is
it.
the
You
best
gotta get
one
the
that
beard
could be
though,
in that
too.
position. Like in the
So
conversations
Malf-
that I've had with him at like
Malphus
PAX
wants
and
to
stuff,
know,
it's just
will pets have
amazing.
their own resources?
That's why I hashtag trust in Pantheon.
Yeah, pets do have their own resources.
Joppa's a big part of that.
Well, when I say pets, I should be specific about the summoners, archimentals, have their own resource, have their own stats, and that's kind of the joy of the summoner class. Is you've got almost this second character that you're leveling up, you're equipping with gear, you're improving that gear, and you're seeing them become more powerful, not because you just have a higher level summon spell, but because you've decked your archimental out in really awesome gear that you've discovered. Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. Go ahead, Ben. I know
One or
who
two
else is-
more. We'll have to wrap her up.
Okay. Let's see.
I'm the bad guy again.
Yeah, you are the bad guy.
My job's awesome sometimes.
I'm seeing a ton of questions about bards and necros, and I don't think we're ready to talk about anything there yet, other than anything.
No, I saw one.
Look at Joppa's little smile.
so
he knows
Loxless
something.
asked any more-
That's the smile of
any
somebody who
info on
wants
what we
to
might
say
expect
something.
for the co-stream December 12th.
Funny you should ask. I think Ben might have the answer.
Well, it's nothing that we haven't shared already. It will be a gameplay stream. It will be the warrior resource management, in particular, combat resources. Ko is going to play a warrior, and we're going to try and get him killed a few times. But yeah,
I can probably help with that.
what we want to do too.
You'll be
a
dead
lot of
first,
talks about
bro.
this too. Is we wanted to show more organic gameplay streams too, like what Pantheon actually feels like, because it seems like every time we're on one of the larger channels we have something to talk about, and that's true and that's good, but sometimes it's fun to just play. So I think we're going to do that. We're going to obviously talk about the combat resources, but I think the idea is just to really have a good play session. That's the plan. You're going to see a couple of cool new things too. I don't know if I should spoil it yet or not. Nothing that's going to shake the earth that you stand on, because we have talked a bit about it before, but you will see a couple of the systems evolved a little bit that you've seen in the past. But yeah, should be fun.
No,
Brass is saying spoil it. Whose team are you on, Brass? Should we, Chris? It's
Brass
your
is
call, man.
totally
We
on
tell
the
them where it's
community
happening.
side.
Okay. Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Chris would spoil everything, by the way, if he could, just so you all know.
Yeah, I would.
See, I told you he would just talk all night.
No, it's not good to spoil everything, and feels like it would be good now, but I think we all know saving some things has its place. But we're going to be back in Amber Fate. But we're going to be showing some aspects of Amber Fate that you guys haven't seen yet. There's actually been a lot of work done in that zone.
I love Amber
since
Fate.
last time that you've seen it, and it's ready it's ready to be seen again. But the other piece that Ben mentioned, and I would say
Climbing?
arguably the more important piece, is gameplay. And I was telling the guys not too long ago that I was watching some YouTube videos of Pantheon gameplay streams in the past with my son a couple weekends ago. He's 9 now, and he's just starting to get interested in what dad does, but gaming in general. And
Start him young.
we watched the Tower of the Reckless Magician stream with Ko, where Ko was
I was
playing
just
the
watching
monk.
some older streams the other day too. It's interesting.
I was loving it. And when you work on a game, it can be difficult sometimes to find those moments where you're just enjoying playing it, because you're always thinking about what needs to be fixed and what comes next, and just kind of the process and the cycle and the sequence of development. But somehow just sitting and watching that, seeing, and the reason is because it was real. Like that content was tuned tight, and people were dying, and Zinx was getting one shot by casters, and maybe a little bit too highly tuned. It was hard, it was
perfect.
challenging, it was what we talk about all the time, about what gameplay in Pantheon we want to feel like. And so we need to start trending back to showing that, because we shouldn't be telling you guys that, we should be showing you guys that. And so that's really what the heart of that upcoming stream is. But then also we're doing that with the class resources as well. We're talking about what the warrior resource does, but now we're going to show it in action so that you can see.
That sounds great.
That
I don't even care that it's not
exactly
Fairthale. Amber Fate
and
is
how
an
that feels.
amazing
So,
zone.
Amber Fate, warrior class resource, more of a genuine kind of tuned gameplay experience. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, we haven't seen Amber
Y'all
Fate since 2016.
Sweet.
Almost 3 years.
I'm just going to address one real
Be
quick
good.
too.
Nice
before
for a change of
we
scenery.
wrap it up. Pantheon Plus is asking about more about the streamer program. Unfortunately, I don't have any more to share right now. The whole idea, you got to keep in mind what had happened was we went to TwitchCon, and that's when we really started promoting the streamer program. We are still absolutely going to get all of the streamers in. That is a guarantee. It's just the timetable that we're looking at. Ideally, what we'd like to do is get the streamers in when we're either in alpha or just going into alpha. But there's just so many that we can't do it right now. It's just logistically impossible to do it right now. But that list is still very much alive, and we still will very much be going to it. So keep them coming in, and just apologies for the wait, but we're sure that you're gonna love it once we do get everybody in. Man, that's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a really fun time for everybody.
Yeah, you're
'cause that's
telling
going
me.
to mark the time when Pantheon is getting out to a broader audience, where more people are actually going to be able to play it. I just don't have dates.
And Ben, I also noticed in the chat somebody asked about the merch store.
Yeah, so Mike Butler, and I shouldn't say just Mike, but Mike's been heading it up, has been putting a new one together. Roenick, actually, Dave, I believe you've been working on some of the designs, so we're gonna have some new stuff on there as well. And it's gonna be better quality stuff too. So yeah,
Better
it will be
quality.
back. It will be back. Yeah.
We'll have obviously the new logo, and then some super cool, like straight up design shirts that I like. So
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, you come up with some cool stuff, man.
I try.
Should be cool. All right. Well, I think that's probably about all we have time for tonight, but I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out again. And just a reminder, December 12th, noon Eastern, noon Pacific. December 12th,
He
noon
does
Pacific
that
is
all
when
the
we will be
time.
streaming with Co. You'll see a lot of what we talked about tonight for the warrior combat resources and more in Amber Fate. And also, we just want to say a big thank you to all of you. You've always shown great support to all of us. And this past week, you've shown that you can show even more support. We're all of us at Visionary Realms are very, very, very grateful for everything that you've said and done, all of the comments and everything. And last but not least, if you haven't pledged yet, we are very, very much appreciative of any pledge that you can make at PantheonMMO.com.
Well, there you have it.
Good stuff. Thanks, everybody. So much. Onward and upward.
There it is.
This is Dave Ronick Schlau signing off. Willing to buy a res.
That was good.
And just ended on that. There it goes. Oh man. All right, you don't need to watch that. All right. I was like just waiting. I was waiting for Kyle Olsen to like fly in on the freaking gas bat right at the last minute there, but I guess I don't know, maybe he couldn't make it, I guess. I don't know. That was way better than the first newsletter stream that they did. It was different. It was different because the first one, they like did kind of like cutaways. They had like some pre-recorded footage and stuff. And this was like all live. That was just like just the three of them just like sitting there talking in real time. If that continues, I'm going to have to figure out something to do with my camera because I don't want to cover them up, but like I got to get myself in there too. But yeah, that was good. I mean, that was good information for sure, and just their audio I think was a lot better. It was still could be. I think Ben Dean was a little bit louder than the other two, but yeah, that was I can't tell you how excited and surprised I am to get like that in depth of a look at the new class resources. So, and the other thing too that I want to mention, I'm taking notes like this whole time because I'm like already planning out all the videos that I'm gonna have to make about all that information. We haven't even gotten to the stream. So again, if you missed it, December 12th, noon Pacific, not Eastern. It's funny because Ben Dean lives on the East Coast, so he is always like programmed to say Eastern, so he always messes up the time and says Eastern, but it's December 12th, noon Pacific. That's 3 p.m. Eastern if you're on Eastern like me. That's when, because you might have seen that I posted on Twitter that Ko had announced on his channel that he was going to be doing gameplay in December. And so now that seems like we finally got a date for that warrior gameplay in Amber Fate. Oh, so sick. So excited about Amber Fate. I like the in-depth look at the logo. I like that I was right about that. I'm just going to say. I wish though that he had explained the shattering of the O a little bit more, because he said it represented that like the fragile nature of Terminus, which like I get. So, but the first, when I was looking at, when they first revealed the logo and I was first looking at it, let me see if I can pull it up here. When I was first kind of like breaking it down and analyzing it, the first thought that I had was like, oh, why is it broken into 8 pieces and not 9? And I kind of wish that he had explained why it was 8 specifically. I was thinking like, oh, 9, like you could easily have broken one of those bigger pieces into 2. You have 9 pieces and like one for each race. I was like, that's cool symbolism. I love symbolism like that. I like hiding my own symbolism in things that I create too. So I guess I'm just kind of like in the mood of thinking like that. But then while I had that thought though, then I looked closer and I was like, wait. This is an eclipse, which means that it's a planet, and I'm like, wait, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 dots, and I was like, is that just a coincidence? And I was like, knowing these guys, like, the amount of just lore that they just inject into everything, I was like, I don't think that's a coincidence. But the problem is then, like, okay, in future expansions and stuff, they keep adding more races. It's like they have to keep adding more dots. It's interesting though, because like, so they clearly all the races, does that mean that all the planets that the races came from are orbiting Terminus? Not necessarily, but that's kind of what it seems like. Or at least they're orbiting that star. I guess it would be the star that it's eclipsing. But still, it's like they're all in the same solar system, so to speak. So it's not like they're different planes, like they're actually planets, I guess. Maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much, but still. I love the logo. It looks way better. It looks way better than the previous one. I definitely like the fact that the Rise of the Fallen and the Pantheon in the old logo were like two different colors. It definitely did it. I totally know exactly what they're talking about. Where on some like backgrounds, the Rise of the Fallen would just blend in and just didn't look very good. Like I said, I didn't realize how much I disliked the previous one until I saw this one. So. The other thing too that I wanted to mention real quick that they had talked about at the beginning of the stream, the memorial that we held for Brad and I think I mentioned it earlier too. I just wanted to say how much of an honor that was for me personally to have an opportunity to just do something for somebody that I looked up to so much and who meant so much to my life, like to be able to put that together and to have so many people show up, and and John Smedley was there and Holly Longdale from Daybreak was there. It was just very humbling. That's something that I will keep with me for a long time. If you want to check it out, it is on my YouTube channel, the recording. I think that was much needed as a community. But yeah, I don't want to, like I said, I mean, it's good to do things like that. You don't want to dwell on it too long though. I don't mean to damper things too much. I mean, it is we're still in kind of like trying times, I think, as a community, so to speak. But like Java said at the end, it's like you always just got to keep moving onward and upward. I like that a lot. So I want to scroll up in chat here because I think I saw some questions. Oh, like one about the Bard, because I know, yeah, Ronik was saying that they were getting a lot of questions about the Bard, and Brass said in the other chat that they were stretch goals, which, like, yes, technically. So the thing about the Bard, and this is actually one of the things that arose from when I was talking to Joppa at PAX East. Disclaimer being that this was like a year and a half ago, but at PAX East, that's when he made the public announcement that he's like, quote unquote, for my position, I'm confident that the Bard will make it in by launch. That was awesome. That was big news at the time because, like, from his position, he's in a good position, and to know that, and so it's like, so clearly you would hope that he wouldn't say that without knowing that, like, at least a good amount of progress had already been made at the Bard. But since then, we haven't really heard anything about it other than his little smirk that you caught when they brought it up, his little smirk. So, yes, I know from, like, a official perspective that they have to say, like, yes, it's a stretch goal because it hasn't been confirmed. Even when I was having that conversation with Joppa, it was not an official confirmation announcement. The Bard class page has not been revealed or anything. But so it's like, it's easy, and I can see why since then they don't really do those soft announcements a whole lot anymore, because it's so easy when you get something that's exciting for the community to take that, and that means, like, yes, that means it's 100% sure because that's what we want to think, but it's not really. Like, that was a year and a half ago. Clearly, a lot of things have changed in between now and then. So it's like we don't know. We don't know. I'd like to think that it's still the case. It could be, but we just don't know. So that's where I stand on that. Somebody said that in also in the other chat, Chris Rowan, the CEO of Visionary Realms, said that as part of the merch store relaunch, which they had mentioned at the end of the stream, he at least he had asked that a Worlds Not Games t-shirt be made, which I think that's a fantastic idea. I think those would sell like crazy. Again, we don't know when that will be, or even if that will be, but like at least we know that they're working on it, which is good. I mean, because I wanna fill my closet with some Pantheon merch, but it's gotta be good. But it sounds like they're working on it. I'll keep going for a few more minutes, like 5 more minutes. At the top of the hour, they ended sooner than I was expecting them. They ended sooner than I was expecting them to. But I'll just hang out with you guys for like another 5 minutes or so. Then I should call it a night, probably. What else you guys got? What else is going on? I hope that they didn't say it specifically, but I hope that the Amber Fate stream showcases the new climbing. Now, Ben hinted at, he's like, there'd be some systems that are evolved. And so I think that that's probably what he's talking about, because Amber Fate is an extremely vertical zone. There's tons of opportunities for climbing. And so we saw like a very rudimentary version of climbing back in that 2016 stream. And then in like one of the newsletters, they had shown some out of game footage of some of the work that they had done on climbing. So I could almost guarantee that upgraded climbing system that we saw out of game is now in game, and that they'll be able to show us that. That seems like that would be one of the main reasons to do a stream in Amber Fate, because it's just climbing everywhere. So speaking of Brad, one of my favorite memories, I think I talked about this on Twitter a few days ago, and Ben Dean had mentioned TwitchCon, because at TwitchCon, it was when I had a chance to play, and I played in Amber Fate with Brad, and that was it was such a blast. And like I feel so fortunate to have those memories, because like just being in there, it was just me and him, and I was like, I had somehow the presence of mind to just for a moment realize how crazy it was that of all the people in the world, he was sitting next to me, just grouped up, like just me and him, and we were just running through Amber Fate. And it was so funny, because he created this world and he still got lost in it like all the time. Like because Amber Fate is such an intentionally complicated zone. It's like you take Lower Guck and then stretch it like 3-dimensionally. So it's like not only are there twists and turns, but then you're also going up and down too, like that. And then that adds the danger of like if you fall, you die basically in some cases. And so the fact that like he would get lost and then he wouldn't make some of the jumps, and it was just hilarious. And it's like, but I love those jumping, like the thrill of like if you don't make that jump, like you're gonna either lose a lot of progress at best. Like Amber Fate is just that's an ingeniously designed zone. So I'm glad we're gonna be able to finally go back there and revisit it and see where it's at now. Corey says we wish we could see some summoner footage. Yeah, that is so highly requested. Like, because I think, which is understandable, because that's the only class that we haven't seen gameplay of. So yeah, they should do that. It sounds like, I mean, Joppa's been going to town on the classes for a couple years now, at least. Like, I would think that, I mean, I know that they ran into some, like, just the pet mechanics of basically, you have the summoner itself that you have to design, but then you also have to design the pet. Like, you're almost designing 2 classes at once. And I know they had kind of, like, ran into some problems with that, and then they kind of had to, like, redesign it just a little bit to make it work. And so I get it, but, like, I would think, like, that was a while ago now. So yeah, I would hope too that they're getting close to a point where they can show that. Oren says, I'm usually not interested in Warriors much, but Pantheon sounds much more cool as time goes on. I totally agree. Warrior, I like, in every game that I play, I never even really consider playing a Warrior, because they usually are, like, boring. But the way that Joppa was describing it, like, he went into it, it's like, that sounds fun. Like, since my roots are in tab target combat in MMOs, I do like the tab target, but I like the tab target with a twist of, like, action combat. Like, I don't know, because I naturally have quicker reflexes, and it's just very satisfying to be able to use them in combat. So, and it seems like that's kind of the direction that they're going. Like, it's not gonna be like, you're not gonna have to do, like, 500 APM like you're playing StarCraft or anything, but just keeping it going a little bit, that would be, just finding that balance would be super satisfying. Chase says, any word on services of any kind for Brad? No, I haven't heard anything. As far as, like, if you mean, like, a GoFundMe or anything for the family, I haven't heard anything. Like that. If I do, I mean, I'll make sure to put it out, because that's important. But at the same time, I mean, maybe, like, financially, maybe the family is fine, which would be good. I mean, it would be nice to send them something, but I don't know. I can't even imagine, like, it's been a chaotic week in the community, at least for me, and I can only imagine how much more chaotic it must have been for the devs, and let alone the family. I don't even want to think about how terrible it is, and all that you have to go through with that. Like, putting out a GoFundMe for his fans is not at the top of their priority list right now. But we will see. Like I said, as soon as I know, you'll know. Well, I guess with that in mind, oh, see, I went a few minutes over. See, I thought you get me going too. I'll just talk. I could talk about Pantheon all night too. But I'm getting tired, and like I said, I clearly have my work cut out for me, because I want to make. I just want to keep making YouTube videos. That's all. What can I say? That's all I want to do. And then we got the stream on the 12th coming up. Like, it's gonna be this time last year, I pretty much had taken the entire month of December off. Like, I pretty much had taken a hiatus just to kind of, like, work on some behind the scenes stuff for the channel, because news for the game had slowed down, man. Because developers are humans too. something that I think a lot of people forget. Like, the developers are human. They need to take holidays. They need to take time to mourn when people lost. Like, the morale is a factor, and they need to spend time with family. Like, it's, as a consumer, it's too easy to think that these game developers are just these machines that are just bred to pump out games, but they're not. And so anyway, last year I had kind of taken the month of December off, but that is very clearly not going to be the case now. The devs, they said that they were going to up their communication, and they seem to be doing that, and hopefully that continues, because that just, as a community as a whole, that just gives us so much more fuel and so much more to talk about, and it's gonna be fun. But for now, I think I'm gonna head out. Have a happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Thanksgiving's come up. Speaking of spending time with your family and stuff, have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great night. I'll see you next time.